Hi, everyone. Welcome to the session, The Great AGI Question: When, How, and What Does It All Mean? I'm your moderator, Keith Shaw, and I'm honored to have the following two guests on this panel as well. Jason Mars, he is the Associate Professor of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science at the University of Michigan, and Jyotika Singh, she is the Principal Applied Scientist at Oracle. Welcome to this panel.
Thank you so much. Happy to be
Yeah,
here.
All
pleasure to
right,
be here.
before we can even kind of start to discuss the idea of artificial general intelligence, or AGI, we would kind of need to agree on a definition about what it is. So, does the AI community have a consensus on what AGI even is? Or is it one of those things where it's like, we'll know it when we see it? Jyotika, why don't you start?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult question because I hear different definitions from all around all the time, and people define it differently, right? So, but the idea is that a point where AI either matches or surpasses human capabilities, just more generally, so not narrowly on like one or two specific tasks or genres, but just across the board. Now, what does that really mean, and what does across the board mean? What does general mean? It's very ambiguous, and that's where things are not very clear, and it just varies. I see across the board.
Okay, Jason, what discussion are you hearing in the AI community about AGI?
Yeah. I mean, it's a very interesting time, right? I mean, AGI is a concept that's really being defined in the market. It's really coming from companies and really OpenAI is really leading the charge on this AGI narrative, with the company being entirely about defining it and protecting the future humanity against it. In the definition that I tend to subscribe to is one where the AI gains enough autonomy to make decisions and act on the behalf of humans, or in the stead of humans. And so in a lot of ways, it's an interesting thing, because we talk about, well, I think there's a debate not only on, when does it come, but there's also the debate as to, is it here already? So it's a term that's evolving, but yeah, it's a question of our time.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's one of those things where people think that because they've watched science fiction movies and entertainment, and they all have in their mind, it's usually a robot that can do everything that a human can do, even better and faster. They think of the android Data from Star Trek, those types of things. When I started thinking about this too, it's like, could I ask an AI any question and it would give me an answer? We're kind of already at that point, but we're not at a point of artificial general intelligence, I think, because there are certain things that, ChatGPT and others can't do well, like make jokes, for example, things like that.
Yeah. I mean, for now, right? And I think there's this kind of, from my perspective, I think there's this unfortunate reaction that we humans have to AI as dangerous, right? It's a lot like we were talking about aliens or something, right? Like, what will the aliens do to us, right? What
Right.
will the AI do to us? And so that kind of dominates the concerns of folks. But more emphasis. I think there's an interesting amount of emphasis that should be applied to, well, how does this improve our lives, right? And how do we now live with these new kinds of beings that are already so capable and only will become more capable, given that everybody's working on it now?
Right, right. Within the communities that you work with around AI, what is their current feeling about this possibility of reaching AGI? Do they discuss this? Is this something that's looming in the back of their heads, or are your colleagues more concerned right now about getting the current generation of generative AI, to become more efficient and less error prone? Jyotika, how much of AGI is are you hearing about in your day to day life?
Yeah, actually, very little when it comes to development perspective. So people who are actually working on development and building use cases on top of AI and LLMs and generative AI, and also people who are like in the research domain, they are usually focused on more narrower problems and how they can better that and how they can overcome certain issues and improve the state of AI today in those areas. And I think AGI really doesn't, we don't really talk about it a lot in our community of people working in this space. but it just more so comes via, I would say, influential people, and somebody mentions AGI, and more like maybe a sort of like a PR sense, and like from a business implementation perspective, and that's where I've heard this term more often.
Jason, within the halls of academia, what do you hear?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think in general, the practitioners that are wielding these tools see them as that. They're excited that there's this new tool that they can bring to bear to solve many problems, right? And so, we're seeing that in academia as well. I mean, what's interesting, I mean, the real story is there's two types of academics, right? Some that see great opportunity to kind of make an impact, and then some who have epic eye rolls like, oh, everyone's so crazy about this, and this is actually making some of the work I was doing not as relevant, so I'm just going to be skeptical. So that's what we're seeing with the academicians. But in general, everyone is changing the work they do to apply to what is undeniably the next technologies that everyone's going to care about. And so this is happening not just with the AI folks, for which I do a lot of work with, but also for the systems folks, for the programming languages folks, for all the different kinds of areas, database people, areas of computer science. They're all researching, how do we build machines that can handle bigger models? How do we change the way we program to acknowledge the fact that AI is going to be doing some of the compute of the future? How do we change devices so that we can split models across them? So everyone's really working in the space, and it's all excitement and trying to push the state of the art even further. Not much about the fears. I mean, there's some policy folks, and ethics folks, but there's not a lot of fear going on, in academia.
Do you guys feel that we're all, as an industry, heading towards that AGI goal with the current state, or is there something that needs to happen between now with generative AI and then later as AGI? Is there a missing piece, or do we feel that we just need to make it better, faster, and smarter, and then it'll happen?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that needs to happen before AGI, and again, it depends on how we are defining AGI in this case. But working on even narrow problems today, you see a lot of areas where current technology needs improvement, and so I think there's a lot of scope for improvement in narrower tasks, and then together, that may overall contribute to that, AGI sort of a state. But there's a lot that needs to happen, and there's a lot that is happening for sure. So we are headed there, but I think there's a lot that needs to happen before we actually get there.
Yeah, Jason, do you think that this is the goal? This is the end goal for many of the people in AI?
Yeah. So right now, I think there's a lot of folks scrambling to figure out how to get value. So OpenAI has demonstrated a good tool that makes us more productive. We see that there's this technology that now is being even more democratized. We're all kind of playing with these models. But there's a challenge in turning it into value in all the different areas of human need and business need, right? So businesses want to make money. They want to make more money faster, and they want to use this new tool. And actually, it's surprising how much difficulty folks are actually operationalizing this technology in other areas of business rather than just a ChatGPT modality. That being said, the scientists are trying to go faster. I mean, so the Yann LeCun, who's one of the luminaries recognized in computer science, is spending a lot of time talking about going from this text generation space, input-output space, into the representation space and having reasoning happening in the representation space. What that means is, in the mind of the model, this would be a good way to put it for everyone, like in the mind of the model, how can we get models to actually think and the weights to update, the actual neurons to change in the thinking toward the reasoning towards a solution. So that work is getting a lot of interest and may supplant the GPT, the transformer-based approach that everyone is using today. That being said, we're still, as a business world, as a general world, trying to figure out how to use that level of intelligence in practice. And so we're gonna see a lot of development. This is the beginning, right? Now everyone's focused on it, so it's gonna move fast. But it's gonna be exciting.
And so we talk a lot about the fears that we've that AGI is going to once it becomes self-aware, or once it becomes smarter than all of the humans on the planet. We're always assuming the first thing is fear, and we'll have to stop it. Or this is a bad thing that we're all working towards, which is weird, because if we all agreed that it was bad, we wouldn't be developing it, but yet scientists still keep developing this stuff. So I am assuming that there is some good that could come out of an AGI. So I want to talk about that a little bit. What are the benefits to businesses, but then humanity as a whole? Is it just that AGI will then be able to solve some of these bigger problems that we currently can't solve, or do we go after those major problems, or is it just that an AGI will be able to do all of these things faster?
Yeah, I mean, it's a mix of both, right? Even today, without really being at that AGI level, AI is useful. It's generating businesses revenue. It's making people's life easier. There's a lot of good associated with it. And I think if you talk about AGI, and I'm really imagining almost this point where machines are able to do a lot of tasks better than most humans, then there's so much advantage that you can think about it. So imagine AI taking care of elderly, right? Imagine deploying your AI sort of robots, call it, in like areas which are hard to reach, and disaster relief, and just so many things, security. So I think there's a lot of scope where this could be put into very good use as well, and really benefit like humanity and mankind overall. So there's definitely a large pool of opportunities beyond just the fear and the fear of losing control, and then AI just taking over the world and killing all the humans and all of that. So there's a lot of good that can come out of it.
Yeah, Jyotica's right on, right? Like, and in practice, this is what we find, with technologies. It's very interesting. We always seek to make our lives better, and to make ourselves safer and more secure. And I honestly think there's going to be more energy from humans steering the technologies down those paths. Like, that's where the economy is going to want the technology to be. And no one likes liability. Nobody wants to put their employees or their team members in harm's way. And, Jyotica's example of the burning building is a wonderful one. I mean, this is one where robotics can come into play. We can leverage these models with anatomical robots, which is inevitable at this stage, to really help our lives be better. We'll always have a kill switch too. I really do believe that when we get to the stage where things become hard to control, us humans, we love control. We will find a way to build in a kill switch. So no Skynet coming, no Terminator 2 craziness in my prediction, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I used to be in the robotics field covering robotics, and I would always tell people, well, when the robot invasion comes, at least we'll know where the off switch is. Although if I became self-aware, that would be the first thing I would disable, would be the power switch for me.
True.
If I was one of those. Talking about robotics, do you feel that if an AGI is achieved just through a computer or through servers and the internet, so to speak, do you think that becomes less of a quote unquote threat than if we merged it with a physical robot, for example? I mean, we're just now seeing OpenAI, ChatGPT type capabilities being put into physical robots, and is that something where then we start seeing an AGI?
Yeah, I mean, so the conference for the NVIDIA, they announced, a lot of investment into these efforts, and the Groot sort of, robotics, all of that. So, I mean, a lot of people, when they think about AGI, they're thinking something human-like. They're imagining something that also looks like a human and, has those sort of physical characteristics as well. So I think, again, depends on how you define really AGI here. But yeah, a lot of people do view like combining the technology that is more like software related, and example like multimodal generative AI, like video, audio, text, all of that, and combining that with an actual hardware and marrying those two together would give that sort of a human-like feel to AI technology behind the scenes. So a lot of people do view that as like a stepping stone towards AGI because that's the picture they have in their minds.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's inevitable. If you look at it's in our nature, right? We want to put wonderful human-like voices behind this AI. We have a desire to talk using our natural abilities to communicate. There's this aspiration in technology. I mean, if you look at the technologies over time, it's culminating into this desire to recreate ourselves as we know ourselves, that cannot have the limitations, not have to sleep, and so forth. So I think it's an inevitability that we're going to have embodied AI, where it's embodied in a machine. And I think that this will happen in tandem with enhanced intelligence, right? And I don't think it puts us. I think there's going to be interesting challenges to deal with that is similar to the challenges of having screens all the time and now being able to talk to thousands of people instead of tens. So we're going to have these interesting sociological challenges. What does it mean to develop emotions for an anatomical AI that you can't distinguish as human? And I think there's going to be very interesting psychological and sociological challenges for us to deal with way before anything like dangerous, like self-aware.
Yeah, what I was also thinking about
machines.
is we keep assuming that AGI is going to be a single entity. Like this is like AI is going to be one big system that can think for itself and can answer all the questions. But there's not like just one human being and we all look like them. Like there are multiple billions of different humans that all have different minds. So is anyone thinking that we might have multiple billions different AGIs at some point? Or will it become more like, again, I'm going to use the Star Trek reference, the Borg, where it's all one kind of AGI and then all of the little robots are answering to this hive mind? And again, I don't necessarily think this is a bad thing, but will we, because again, we're seeing multiple GPTs right now too, right? So will we see multiple AGIs at some point?
Probably, I think that's, again, all of this needs so much work that it's quite in the future, but getting to that one single AGI is probably even more in the future than multiple sort of AGIs, to exist. Even same thing with humans, right? Like every human is not great at every single task. Everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses and depends on the kind of training you've received. So if I try a completely different profession today, I might fail because I don't know anything about it. I haven't trained to do that really well. So probably that might be, it's all in the future, but the one single AGI might be even more futuristic, is what I think. But let's see where the world takes us. I continue to be surprised with developments every now and then. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think this area of personalization is really going to be the first way we see this kind of diversity of AGI of AI. I think Jyotika is right on, right? We actually want to specialize these models at different tasks, and much of the research, much of the investigation is to how do you efficiently make models smaller and make models really good at one thing versus this kind of chat GPT style, like it knows everything, right? And so, I think that's where we're going to see the first experiences of highly personalized AI or specialized at different tasks. But I think there is this sociological recreational space where that's going to become more and more relevant as the models get better. And I think we're going to be creating the models of our dreams, right? We're going to be creating the kinds of intelligences that we need for our particular work. Me as an engineer might have a an AI that's an expert at all the coding stuff I could ever imagine and all the computer science technical stuff I can imagine. Someone else may have an AI that's really good at botanical like species and stuff that I know nothing about that I shouldn't even be talking about right now. But so I think it's going to be a part of our now and future, and it'll evolve under what we determine it should be.
All right, and we're about 5 minutes away from the end of this, so I want to ask a final question. Elon Musk actually recently predicted that AI will likely be smarter than all humans combined by 2029, and I've seen some other predictions of reaching AGI by 2027 or 2029. And when you think about it, that right now we're in 2024, and that's only 3 to 5 years away. I think Ray Kurzweil actually says this is now suggesting 2029 as well. So are we on this path where we're going to reach this, or are these predictions a little too optimistic or not optimistic enough? Where do you feel we are on the pathway? And is this mean AGI or the singularity, which is another type of concept? And do those two mesh? Jyotika, how are you feeling on the path?
Yeah, I mean, so in terms of AGI and singularity, I think singularity is sort of one level above. Like AGI still has some like flexibility in kind of way people define it. Like better than humans, how much better? 1%, 2%, 0.1%. So there's some flexibility there, but singularity is sort of this concept where, AI doesn't need sort of humans to train them anymore, and they're self-learning, and they're self-sufficient and perhaps taking over the world and all of that. So I don't think we're getting there that soon. I don't think that's what's going to happen. But depending on how people are going to define AGI and getting there in 5 years, I think in 5 years, we'll be somewhere along that path. I don't know whether we would have achieved AGI. I don't know if we would have AI that has surpassed human intelligence and everything. We're probably not going to be there, but we're probably going to be much better than where we are today. So somewhere along the path, but maybe not there exactly.
Jason, how are you feeling about where we're on with this path?
Yeah, no, well, I think it's interesting. So Elon will make these statements, and I think it's useful because it really gets the world to think about some of the important questions that we need to be thinking about these days. But that's a tricky question, right? Because these models, these AI capabilities we have today are already better at humans at many things, right? And then there are other things that it can't hold a flag to humans, right? Will the models know what it feels like to love a child?
Right.
Like probably never. I don't know. I wouldn't be so crazy, but I think that one's far off. But will a model be able to recount every page of Wikipedia just instantly? Yeah, it can do that today, right? So it's better than humans at that. So I think there's going to be things. I think the interesting question is, what will the models be able to do that humans could never imagine doing? And then how do we bring that to bear on the problems to make our lives better, right? Like, I really think like one of the important things that we should solve is be able to have an encyclopedic companion that you can talk to for your whole life and then help you recount anything throughout your whole life. When I was 3, and I hurt my knee, like, how long did I cry? Like, that might be a piece of technology we can actually have in the next 5-10 years. A little AI that just is like your Gmail account that you just talk to all through life and recounts you. So I think that's really the interesting questions. And I think it's good Elon asks these bigger questions to get folks thinking, but I think that's the better question is where can we do things we could never do because of this type of AI?
Right. Just one final quick question, just a quick yes or no. Are you optimistic about our chances of achieving AGI within the next 5 years? Yes or no? Jason?
I was like, it depends. No. I would say generally for what people kind of think of as AGI, I would actually say yes, right?
Okay.
When they think of an AI that's like human or better than human or you can't distinguish, I think we're going to have very compelling evidences of AGI in 5 years.
Okay. And Jyotika, yes or no
Yeah.
on achieving something like AGI in 5 years?
something like AGI in the direction of AGI, yes, but AGI, AI singularity, no. I think there's going to be more time before we get there, but let's see what happens.
Okay, and
fair.
unfortunately, we are out of time again. Jason Mars, thank you. Jyotika Singh, thank you again for being on this panel. It was great,
Thanks
great
for having us.
conversation.
Pleasure
Thank you.
to be here.
Yeah.
Thank you.